Hi, Natasha. It's so
Hey.
nice to meet you finally. I
hmm
know that you're a pastor and that you're ministering to people during this time, which is a super unique time to figure
hmm
out church and all of that
hmm
good stuff because we're not in the physical building and you're taking care of all these people. Um, and your family and your homeschooling and like this, there's like so many layers to this. How do you take care of yourself? How do you ensure you have like self-care and
hmm
health and you are taking care of you right now?
Yeah. Well, I'm just making sure I'm muted. Okay, good. I think that's a huge question, and I think that even in this season has revealed more about how I don't have that figured out than anything. I think that when COVID hit for everyone across the country, um, it was in the world. Um, it it hit us all really fast with zero time to process necessarily, and so I realized how um, it you do have the demands on you, whatever your job is, if it's mom, wife, pastor, a business owner, entrepreneur. You have responsibilities, and no matter what, it's kind of like when you have a bad day and you're home with your kids and somebody has to feed them still, and you're like, oh wait, that's me. And so I realized that actually, like, I don't think I had in place parameters or proper parameters of how to care for myself first. Like, we all had to pivot and pivot quickly because people were looking to us for guidance and leadership and answers. I mean, for us, we're a church that has 3 campuses, and we were about to open our brand new facility on March 22nd. It was like our dream, a permanent building finally. And March 15th we get, hey, everything's going to be shut down. And so you just kind of had a white knuckle, um, grab on, adrenaline kicks in, we're going for the ride no matter what. And I think that even especially for church leaders, we had like COVID, but then there was Easter, and there was just thing after thing like right away. But then once that passed, I realized, like, oh, wait a second, I don't think I allowed myself to really feel and process. And I started to feel actually like I was drowning or suffocating and not being able, like, how can you lead out of a place that you're not quite healthy, or you haven't allowed yourself the space to process it? And so I think for me, what I've been learning, that would certainly magnified in this season, especially, is that there has to be like godly order. Like I said, I have 4 kids, and I've realized through raising them that sometimes the loudest one isn't necessarily the one that needs me the most. They're just the one that's getting my attention. And so the one who's acting out or whining at me or crying a lot, uh and I have wonderful children, if they're watching. uh they're not always like that, but sometimes the loudest thing gets our attention, where the quieter things, or the things that aren't like at us, might need a little extra love. And so I struggle to use the word balance. I really think that I desperately have to go to God daily, even like hourly. What needs my attention right now? And because I am only one person, and yeah, my hands are in a lot of things, and I wear different hats in different seasons. I can't do it all. And so I think that that's where I begin to think better, and that's where self-care comes in, is like just surrendering the fact that, like, I'm not going to be able to do it all. I can't do it all. Something will suffer, but I think there can be a godly order, that God can give us wisdom and discernment daily, hourly, by the minute. What needs my attention? What needs my energy right now? And therefore, then I feel like things aren't dictating me. In my emotions aren't the one that the steering wheel either. And that way I feel like things are out of control, but I can regain a little bit of control, if that makes sense. when it's like, okay, I feel like God wants me to put my hands to this right now. I'm going to focus my attention there and not worry about XYZ that might be loud, but might not be where God wants me to put my efforts right now, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I've been working through.
And what's the message that God's been putting on your heart? Because I know, as someone who shares the word often too, like there's this just a message you're learning about who He is. And so, is there something that's been like a whisper that He has constantly been like sharing with you with your heart?
I think that a lot of like this has caused me to practice what I preach. We always like to, we say things that kind of come across as like Christian cliche at times. We're like, well, God's, all things work together for good. And even though it's scripture, it sounds like, okay, yeah, you just read that on a Hallmark card, or that's like, okay, that's really nice to say, but I'm in the middle of something right now and I'm not feeling it right now. And I think that what has been birthed in this journey is the fact that like one thing can be happening in reality, or what we're seeing, whether it's on social media or in the news or in our faces, that just what you go home to. But God is doing something behind the scenes, and he can be working out a story that we don't quite get to see quite yet. And right now at our church, we're in a series of messages called "I Like Big Butts" and other conjunctions. And it's BUTS. It's not
Yeah.
double T. But it's because there's so many spots in the Bible where there's a but God moment. And I was awakened to it, and it was my idea to name it that. So it's okay. It's not my husband's creative thing, so he can blame me. But because in Esther chapter 9 verse 1, there's a moment when the law goes out that all the Jews are going to be wiped out, and then the other law comes out on the same day, and it says, on this day the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but now the tables were turned. And I feel like the story in this season is, hey everybody, like there can be a lot of crazy going on and a lot of unknowns and a lot of overwhelming panicking moments personally, but the tables will turn.
Yeah.
And just as quickly as things shut down, and whatever reason, all that had to happen, but God can do something and birth something and breathe something miraculous in this season. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling, all those but God moments. And we're hearing those testimonies, and I'm excited to hear more of that from this season.
Yeah, that's great, Natasha. Thank you. Yeah, and that's good. Thanks for pulling that out. I love that. What's God whispering to you? Thank you so much.